deck share. I hope everyone is able to see my screen.
Yes.
And present the view. So thank you, Christoph, for the introduction. And like any software company, and Security Bridge is headquartered in Germany, very close relationship with SAP headquarters, and also necessary nowadays, especially for getting access into the SAP RISE private cloud environments, where most of the large enterprises specifically are now migrating into or are already there. And that's where we are also having the SAP RISE certification and all the access that we need to get installed in an SAP RISE environment as well. And we work very closely together with SAP partners like Icon Consulting, and that's really important because with our partners, we are able to deliver the value not only by making our software capabilities available, but also having the services around it that are very much needed for most of the SAP end customers. So let's go through the theme of today. And as we have seen in the news on a daily basis, the threat landscape is for sure evolving with a lot of geopolitical tensions, but also other dynamics that are increasing the risk exposure that all of us in the SAP space have to deal with. So maybe for the SAP insiders, but maybe it's good to highlight, and also from the APAC point of view, that across APAC, SAP systems are at the core of how economies operate. Not just your company or your business that you work for, but the whole economy, basically, the whole supply chain, end to end. Most of it is supported by SAP systems. So from manufacturing, logistics to financial systems, public, it's everywhere. But the way these systems are being targeted is changing rapidly. And that's what we will focus on today. If you look at the APAC and the supply chain, so APAC is one of the most interconnected regions in the world, also where most of the world population lives in Asia. So supply chains span multiple countries. Raw materials are floating from A to Z, manufacturing, distribution, everything is tightly connected and linked. And SAP systems sit at the center of these operations. So this means that SAP is not just critical for an individual company, but it's also critical for an entire industry and economy. Probably you have seen, especially in the second half of last year, the news regarding the cyber hack at Jaguar Land Rover. One of the, well, in a bad sense of the word, one of the most famous hacks of 2025, I think, where over 5,000 organizations were affected. So not only Jaguar Land Rover, but the whole ecosystem. So cybercrime has been increasing at an incredible pace. Hardly a day goes by without hearing about government or companies being hacked. So it's about personal data like identity numbers, home addresses, or even bank details ends up in the hands of criminals. In other cases, companies are completely shut down. So Jaguar Land Rover is one of those examples. Unable to deliver products or services, suffering millions, and in this kind of cases, even billions in losses for not only the company, but for a country or society in general. In the case of Jaguar Land Rover, if we dive into that, the impact went far beyond the company itself. Suppliers and dealers were hit hard, and thousands of people lost their jobs as a result. So not only the company consequences, but also thousands of people losing their jobs in the suppliers, the dealers, etc. What's even more alarming, and that's what we also found, and why this case is especially relevant and well known in the SAP space, we discovered that there was an SAP vulnerability exploit, one for which a patch already existed. We will go into this case a bit more, or in this particular patch management process a bit more later in the demo by my colleague Jeffy. This clearly shows how critical timely patching is. So maybe you could ask yourself, or maybe ask in your company with your SAP department, what is the average time to patch after patch Tuesday? Every month, the second Tuesday of the month, patches are released by SAP. How long will it take before all of your SAP systems are actually updated with the latest patches? What we see at most of our SAP customers is that it still takes maybe weeks, sometimes even months. And nowadays, that is simply not acceptable anymore. It's all about making that time frame as short as possible. So timely patching is becoming a critical monthly process. Another recent example, and especially for the beer lovers in the audience, is the cyber attack at Asahi. We know that Asahi runs SAP. It was not confirmed that SAP systems were involved, but it's clear that typical ERP processes like production and logistics came to a complete halt. So Asahi was not able to deliver or to ship any beer for several weeks or months even. So that also causes an enormous breakdown in the supply chain. These attacks aren't only about data theft anymore. So they can also shut down entire operations. The consequences ripple through the supply chains and society, and long-term risks grow because criminals can misuse stolen data later. Also, not to forget about that long-term impact. That's why stronger protection and monitoring for SAP applications are crucial. They hold your most sensitive data and power your most critical business processes. The geopolitical tensions that we were referring to and that we see every day in the news today, that causes really a big shift in the threat landscape. So cyber attacks are no longer just about financial gain or data theft. They are increasingly linked to geopolitical tensions. So think of attackers are targeting supply chains, critical infrastructure, and industrial operations. Try to imagine what kind of role your SAP company plays in society or in your supply chain. In most of the SAP companies, they play a critical role. And SAP systems sit right at the center of these targets. So imagine that you are having bad intentions or that you are at the wrong side of the table. If you want to disrupt operations at scale, SAP is becoming a very interesting and attractive target. SAP systems don't just run operations, they store highly sensitive data, financial records, employee data, supplier information, and in some cases, government data. So when these systems are being breached, the impact goes beyond SAP system downtime. It erodes, in the end, ultimately, trust in society, trust from customers, partners, and even citizens. And in today's environment, we call trust as one of the most critical assets organizations have. So we always try to capture it in the 3 Rs. What are we trying to protect? By protecting SAP, it's not SAP systems themselves necessarily, but it's all about protecting your company's reputation, revenue, and being sure that you are compliant to the regulation. So maybe those 3 Rs are top priority of your top management in general. The way attacks happen is also changing. So today's attackers don't always break through firewalls. They try to log in with stolen credentials or by pretending to be someone else, using valid users, exploiting vulnerabilities, or abusing access rights. And once inside SAP, and that's also what is highly underestimated, their activity often looks completely normal. So how to detect those kind of attack scenarios? So this makes detection significantly more difficult. So the guy with a bit of an orange glow at the right seems completely normal, but he is trying to download huge amount of data directly from the SAP tables, for example, and nobody is seeing it. AI isn't only helping the defense side of the coin, but is also accelerating how quickly attackers can operate. So they can map SAP environments faster, identify vulnerabilities more efficiently, and even turn patches into exploits. So by reverse engineering after Patch Tuesday, that's also creating a window of opportunity for hackers. This lowers the barrier to entry and increases attack speed dramatically. So the time you have to patch and detect threats is shrinking, and there is a growing need for blocking mechanisms, in addition to all these other defense mechanisms like step-up authentication or multi-factor authentication, MFA. So most organizations already have strong security investments. So network security, access control, SOC monitoring, all have gotten the attention in the past. However, these controls into a different threat model. So they assume attackers are outside the system. They don't address attackers operating inside the SAP application layer, especially in highly connected environments like we have shown before in APAC. Maybe you will recognize this model, the SAP Secure Operations Model. You can also find it, I think, on the SAP sources, on the SAP websites. This model shows which areas are vital for SAP security from the SAP company's point of view. So often companies focus mainly on access control, but neglect custom code security, for example, or they neglect continuous system hardening and monitoring and forensics, which are exactly the core modules of the security risk platform. And that's where the biggest gap still is. In every customer conversation that we have, we see the same gaps that are missing in defending and protecting SAP applications. Basically, continuous hardening, monitoring, and also multi-factor authentication or step-up authentication. The blind spot. So suspicious events inside the SAP application layer. So if attackers are inside your SAP application layer already, you cannot see without advanced tooling what kind of suspicious events are taking place. So privilege misuse, abnormal behavior, sensitive transactions, these are actual risks that are invisible nowadays. So SAP security is no longer about access. It's about suspicious behavior within your SAP applications and how to detect that and how to block that kind of events in an early stage before resulting in serious damage. What we believe in as Security Bridge, but also from a security perspective, is you need different layers of defense. So the endpoint security that we mentioned before is also one of the security circles or layers that you can think of. But within your SAP system, you also have different layers that you need. So continuous hardening, everything starts there. So being in control of your vulnerabilities and keeping them at the lowest level possible. So vulnerabilities in your configuration settings, vulnerabilities that are patch related, but also vulnerabilities in your custom code, for example. So that's where the foundation is. On top of that, once you have that in control, then real-time threat detection, real-time monitoring can be done very effectively. So then you are able to detect the threats, suspicious events when they are taking place in real time. And critically, on top of that, you can even trigger dynamically when someone is trying to execute a highly critical SAP transaction, you can trigger step-up authentication or MFA to control what users can do inside SAP. That will be your last line of defense and also capable of blocking uh, critical transactions executed by threat actors. Just as an example, protect critical actions that are payment related. So enforce MFA exactly when risk occurs, because you don't want to annoy all of your users by everything that they do enforcing an MFA step, because that will frustrate a lot of users. But doing it in a smart way, dynamically, based on context, behavior, and sensitivity, not always, only when it matters, that's where smart, intelligent MFA can play an important role. And that's why Security Bridge acquired Trust Broker solution last year. It's a UK-based company and a solution from the UK with an install base, SAP customer base worldwide, over thousands of SAP customers already using Trust Broker. But that was a very strategic acquisition done by Security Bridge to complete our platform. So what does it look like? In order to protect your SAP system and especially the application layer from a holistic and a platform point of view, we believe that it looks like this, ranging from patch management, vulnerability management, code vulnerabilities, monitor, privileged access management, single sign-on and MFA, step-up authentication, SIEM integration, data loss prevention, identity protection, and threat detection. Everything plays a key role in defending and protecting your SAP applications. Also in the SAP RISE private cloud environment, SAP customers are still responsible for the application layer, where most of our recent deployments are for SAP RISE customers, and they are installing Security Bridge in the RISE environment to make sure that all of this is covered. And that's the missing piece in quite a big SAP security puzzle that you might need. So that's what we try to achieve by doing this kind of webinars, create awareness for the fact that you still have a gap in your defense system by not having this part covered. If we go look at how it works, so we did prepare, and Jeffy did prepare some clear example scenarios in showing you in how Security Bridge can help you in protecting the gaps that you're not able to identify at this moment. So I will stop sharing my screen, and then Jeffy can take over from here. Stop sharing. Yes. And then
Yes.
Jeffy, I hope you're able to share your screen,
Yes.
walk us through
You
a few
are you
scenarios where we will highlight also the integration between threat detection and patching, for example, threat detection and code vulnerabilities, and threat detection scenarios by detecting some real-time suspicious events. Jeffy, over to you.
are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So first, quickly to showcase to highlight the significance of our platform, we offer a management dashboard that visualizes all relevant data points from all of the apps that we have here into one single point of view for anyone to come to know at a given period of time what your security posture is. And this is highly customizable, and you can build this dashboard based on your individual organization's need. So with this, I will go into Event Monitor. The module Event Monitor is primarily a module which is also known as threat detection, which connects into your backend connected SAP systems in once in every 3 minutes and try to read the logs to identify any suspicious event. And the way we detect the suspicious event is using our threat intelligence, or we also call it as scanners. These threat intelligence are logics written by us. We have 100 over threat intelligence, and in addition to that, we also have the behavioral analytics, which will identify the suspicious event, bring over to the controller system, and then we triage it as a security incident along with the correlated logs. So let's just go and see one or two examples, because going through all of these scenarios may not be possible. So what we will do is primarily we will take up two important scenarios. One is an authorization cover up, and the second one is debugging. Debugging in production system also is not good. So let's first go into the systems. Yeah. And identify the issues. So here what we are doing is we have filtered down on the listeners the type of issues that we want to see. Normally you
Cannot see
can
your screen.
you are not able to see.
Oh, I can see it. Is someone else not seeing it?
I can see it also.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Maybe I hope most people can see the screen. But Jeffy, please continue.
Yes. So we can aggregate the events by listener so that we can understand the issues. Now, in this case, what we have seen is an authorization cover up. And the word authorization, let's open this to understand it in more detail. Authorization cover is an impact. For example, let's just take a good example here. This user has assigned SAP all to one of the users, and he has assigned only for 6 minutes, and that is where it is critical, it is suspicious. And you can click on these three dots, click on the three dots and then click on details to get the details of the entire event. What we provide you is where this incident happened, the system, the client, and what is the severity of the incident, when it occurred, time, and the user who was involved in it. And also we provide you all relevant information, similar incident that has happened from other terminals or happened by other users. And we also provide you the timeline of event in that 10 minutes of time when they assigned SAP, or what activities were carried out. This is crucial for you to investigate any security incident. So we correlate and bring in all the activities that were carried out during that timeline and provide you. Along with also we provide you the SAP's raw log. You can see here it is not very meaningful if you try to read the raw log and make sense. But these raw logs are important, especially when you want to do any forensic management or legal investigation. As an evidence, we also need to retain the original logs. So this is how we get the complete details. So this is one of the event that I've shown you. Let me just also go and show the debugging related. So, and debug in production system is also said to be not good. And primarily the reason is when you give, oh, there's no debug. Let me increase the time frame. Okay, the debug is not good in production system primarily because we will take some other, primarily because debugging will allow the functional or the consultant who is doing the debug to modify the business logic, and he can modify any data. Even if he is not allowed to execute a transaction, he can change the value and he can execute it. Okay, let's take another example quickly. We will take an example of DLP, the data loss prevention. Data loss prevention. This is a module where our system will. Why there is nothing?
Oh, Jeffy, you also have authorization change cover up selected in the event action, I think, at the right side. At the right side of your screen? Yeah. Is that the reason?
Yeah, could be. Yes, this is pulling the data. Okay. This is another example where if you, it's a DLP kind of functionality where if you try to even view the data on the screen, or if you try to copy the data onto your clipboard, or when you try to download the data, our security bridge can monitor and immediately give you an alert. It's not just giving you an alert, we can even give you a pop-up to deter the person from going and viewing critical information. For example, you have payment information stored within your table. When somebody tries to view the bank account details or others, we can immediately give a pop-up to say that these are critical tables and being monitored by management, and any view or download of data will be alerted to the management. And if such incident happen, you can click on details and you can go and view all the data over here. For example, similar to what we said earlier, you can see this incident has happened in which client, the severity of the incident, and the date and time, who was the user who did this action, and all the details. And if you go below, it will also show you similar incidents that has happened from which users on which date, and it will also provide you the complete detail of the timeline of event that has happened in that 10 minutes of time, which is useful for your investigation, along with the SAP's raw log. So this is all about Event Monitor. Event Monitor primarily provides you real-time threats from the system. In addition to that, this event module is very tightly correlated with security and compliance, patch management, and vulnerability management. Security and compliance is our module, which is primarily used for hardening your SAP system. And the word compliance stands for complying with the industrial framework, such as NIST, and any gaps identified by security and compliance will be monitored by Event Monitor. Similarly, patch management. This module will help you to identify the outstanding security nodes. It will help you to automate implementation of security nodes. It will help you to give you a comment when there are manual action required, such as kernel upgrade, and also provide you a list of missing objects. So when there is nodes that are outstanding for longer duration of time, any open vulnerabilities will be monitored by Event Monitor. Similarly, for code vulnerability also. Let's go into security and compliance to see. When you come into security and compliance, the first screen what you see is we provide you the overall view of the organization. We have onboarded around 27 over systems. Out of that, 22 systems are not compliant. You can click on any of the system to drill down and see the detail. Immediately when you click on a system, what we show you is by area of responsibility, the vulnerabilities that are identified. And primarily, it is given so that you know which one you need to take an action upon. And you can click on each of any of these. For example, let's go into SAP Basis, and you can click on any of the controls that is not being implemented. For example, let's take the SAP logon control. These are primarily related to parameter changes, because basis is most of them are configurational or parameter related change. And if you click on password policy, it will give you group all the password related policies and show you which are non-compliant. In this case, the minimum password character, that means when your password expires and you set a new password, how many characters should be different from your previous password so that it is not easily guessable, is the parameter what it does. And here the current value is 1, but the industrial best practice is minimum 3 characters should be different. And the key benefit of using our tool is from the centralized controller system, you can click on this remediate and you can straight away remediate. If you put 3 as the value over here and say remediate, it can go and change the value in the backend system. As you all know, there are two types of parameter. One is dynamic parameter, the other one is the parameter which will require a reboot. So dynamic parameter will get immediately effective, and those parameter which needs reboot, once rebooted, will be effective in the system. For example, you are using SSO or single sign-on, and all these password related parameters are not applicable to your organization. In that case, you can select all of them and you can accept by giving a valid reason, so that these will not be flagged out in future scans. And if you do not want to remediate on the spot, but you want to raise an incident, we have an incident management system inbuilt within our tool, and you can raise a ticket so that you can track and manage the remediation of the identified gaps. And not only that, our ITSM tool can also integrate with your ServiceNow or most of the commonly used tools such as Jira, BMC Remedy, and so on. Then we provide you roadmaps under security. In roadmaps, what we do is, let me just put one system so that we limit the data. In roadmap, what we do is we sort it by high exploitation risk versus the low complexity of remediation. You can see here, and then we provide you the list so that you can first do those which are low in complexity and reduce your attack surface. And you can click on each of these row and drill down and go into much more details.
Jeffy,
So,
can you show the integration with, for example, virtual patching, and also with code vulnerabilities done by our real-time threat detection module?
yes.
Yeah.
So we are coming into the patch management. In this, we show the virtual patching. So the patch management module is a module where we will identify all the patches that are pending. That means SAP releases patches on every second Tuesday of the month. Any security nodes that are pending for your landscape will be automatically reflected over here. It connects to our security bridge platform and bring in based on your install component base. And another key important feature is we provide you an aging report which will help you to immediately look into, for example, hot news is outstanding for longer period of time, and you can drill down directly from here and work on it. Let's go into one of the system in the development system. So the key benefit what we provide you for patch management is like all those that are written here as can be implemented. You can select multiple can be implemented, and this implement button has been activated, and you can straight away implement the node from here in the backend system. So we look that the system role should be either sandbox or development. Only in sandbox or development this button will be enabled and you will be able to implement. In the subsequent system, it will follow your change management procedure and you need to transport it to the subsequent system. Then we also provide you comment, like in the case of first security note, what you see is it is not just the source code correction, but you also have a kernel upgrade that needs to be performed. So we provide you comment for the manual action that needs to be taken. Then we also provide you here the list of impacted objects, and this helps you to come out or plan your testing scripts post upgrade, what test you need to perform. And the most important feature which Uno just now spoke is, yes, we know most of the organization face a challenge to implement nodes at a faster speed. They need longer lead time to test and move the changes to production to ensure that there is no impact to the system. So what we provide you is we provide you an virtual patching. What virtual patching does is we have the event monitoring listeners, and this virtual patching will monitor the unpatched vulnerabilities, and at any given point of time when there is a security risk, it raises alert in the event monitor module for you to take action. So it gives you a protection against unpatched modules. Now, with this, what we will do is we will move into the next module of code vulnerability analyzer. The next module of ours is custom code vulnerability analyzer, where you develop SAP ABAP code. This can be integrated into your ATC. We also have an individual code for customers to directly run scans from immediately after their code has been developed. or we can also integrate our CVA as an quality gate so that you can um, automatically trigger the scan when you are releasing the request from development to the subsequent system. So let's just dive into one of the development system to see the results of the code vulnerability scan. And what it does is when you click on the system, it has provided you all the codes that has vulnerability, because primarily we have scheduled a weekly job which will run the scan to identify the all the vulnerabilities within the custom development. And you can click on any of the code to go into the code. And what we provide you is we provide you each line where there is vulnerability. And if one of the line you feel is a false positive or is not really an high risk, you can even put an risk acceptance at each individual line level, or you can create incident to track and manage it, the remediation. Or if you feel these are false positive, you can report it to security bridge to work along with you to identify if it is really a false positive or not. And we also have AI integrated into the custom code vulnerability analyzer. In AI code, what we provide you is you can select all of your code, and if you don't know what this code does, it will help you to explain what the code does. It will help you to describe the vulnerability, what the vulnerability exactly means, and it will also give you a remediation tip. And the last important function is we also provide you a very detailed knowledge base for each and every gap that we identify, all the way from security and compliance module to event monitor, security and compliance, patch management, and in code vulnerability analyzer. Then, similar to what we saw in patch management module, we also have listeners over here in the code vulnerability analyzer. Any vulnerability that has been identified by code vulnerability analyzer will be monitored by our event monitor for any misuse of the vulnerable code, and it will raise alert as and when a risk is identified. So with that, I end my demo.
Thank you, Jeffy. Because I think the developers or remediation of code vulnerabilities will take even longer in general. What we see, it will take maybe several months. So in that time frame, at least you have a bit of peace of mind in real-time threat detection of those identified vulnerabilities, so that you know when someone is trying to exploit the vulnerabilities that we have detected. Okay, I will take over the screen again. Jeffy, thank you for having done such a comprehensive demo in a bit shorter time than we normally do, but I hope that people have seen what the capabilities are of the security risk platform in a fully integrated manner. Let me share my screen. Yes. Okay. And then we will go to the slide view again. So we have seen the patch management and the monitoring of the unpatched vulnerabilities. We have seen the CVA and monitoring of the unremediated vulnerabilities. And we also have seen a few of the real-time threat detection use cases. And by the way, we deliver hundreds of use cases standard out of the box. So that will help you getting up to speed from day one. And then for threat detection, the tuning and making sure that you are going to whitelist and to tune the use cases that we provide. It will take maybe a few months to get to an optimal level and to only see the relevant threats and getting rid of the noise. So the key takeaways before we are going to take some questions is that SAP is a critical infrastructure, not just an IT systems. Disruptions impact entire supply chains, economies, and trust in APAC or in any region that your company is operating in. So that maybe that will also help you to explain the awareness to the higher level, higher management levels, that SAP is crucial for your company's reputation, but also in your ecosystem. The threat landscape has fundamentally changed. So what we did in the past, maybe patching a few times a year was good enough, but nowadays it's for sure not good enough anymore. So by having those kind of requirements and standards raised, you need to have more advanced and automation than several years ago. Attackers operate not only outside of your SAP systems, but they can also be inside your SAP systems or inside your company's network. And then it's very difficult to see what actually is going on. And you can ask anytime within your organization. That's also one of the most confronting questions that we will always address is, are you able to see when someone is trying to download directly from an SAP table, for example? No, and the answer is simply no in perhaps 99% of the cases. Traditional security leaves a critical gap. So the focus on access controls and parameters, but not the SAP application and everything within itself. It's still a missing piece in your security policies. And modern SAP security requires control at the moment of risk. So it's always finding the right balance between not frustrating the business, but still keeping the company safe. And that's what we try to do with intelligent software that Security Bridge offers. All right. I will stop sharing my screen. We will share the deck afterwards, and maybe good to take some questions live or from the chat.
All right, well, thank you very much for the presentation, Jeffy. Interesting to see what new things have come along in the platform. So thanks for the presentation. So if anyone has any questions right now, the floor is open. We have another 10 minutes that we can spend on talking. We don't have anything in the chat, so I would open the floor, and if there's anyone, just shoot.
Yes, I have a question, if you hear me well.
I can.
So, hello. So thanks for the presentation. This looks like a very nice add-on for SAP. The only question I have, is this I mean, it may be a stupid question, but this is probably an SAP only solution.
Yes.
I guess that's one.
Yeah.
But secondly, how does it also look at the integrations? Because I would assume that in many cases SAP is connected to other systems. Does it do something with that, or is that not in scope, or is it somewhere else to be looked at? Because that could also be a possible risk.
We do see all interface traffic between the SAP systems itself, but also between SAP system and outside of SAP system. So that's one of the advanced modules that we offer. It's the interface traffic monitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the product is called
Security Bridge.
That's
Security Bridge. Yeah. So it's a certified add-on for on-prem deployments, but also it's also RISE certified.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think I have a question. I think it's, first of all, thank you for the insightful presentation.
Yeah.
I think if you see AI now have a significant impact across all the industries, even ERP chains, SAP is not an exception. Even if we see SAP CEO Christian Klein recently said that they have now strong focus on the AI and their strategies to radically shift to overvalued AI value pricing. And with this, SAP is heavily focusing on AI and AI agents, Joule for S/4HANA, and generative AI is now the key part of the SAP ecosystem. However, this also brings new security risks for data security or AI models, prompt injection, nobody knows what is prompt injection until last, before AI. Now it's very common. It's new kind of a security threat. So from security breach point of view, I just curious to know what are the best strategies to protect these, from AI models, especially the new threats that are coming, while also ensuring from the customer's business data remains secured.
Yeah, good question. Jeffy, would you
Yes. Okay, if you are
respond
talking
to that?
from
Yeah.
an SAP's dual perspective,
Yeah.
SAP has already committed in their website that including the prompt injections, they have already protected and taken care of it. So that has been already taken care. But if you ask from our tool perspective, what we do is we try to identify the security risk. One is the state clean, which is the core portion of hardening your system, identifying the vulnerabilities, remediating, and monitoring the real-time threat. So one of the component of the real-time monitoring is the behavioral aspect, and that will monitor for any deviation from standards and would raise alert, and we can capture at real time almost all of the risk actually. So the AI related component of the SAP is already covering it.
Yeah. If I'm not correct, thanks, Jeffy. I think it makes sense. But even there are three choices SAP offering, like self-hosted, SAP managed, and and some customers who already into AI and then they want to use. Will security breach will also provide solutions for them, or it's mainly covering the SAP AI ecosystem itself?
No, AI integration is something we are working on to bring in improvement and lot of AI related functionality. Right now, what we have bought in is we have bought in Ask AI, which will help you to understand the codes, understand the vulnerabilities and those related. In addition to that, we have bought in AI Companion, but
Mhm.
AI is our roadmap in the 2B to bring in lot of AI related security and AI related functionalities.
Maybe to add to that, Venkat, we also discussed that part internally quite a bit, and also the acquisition of Trust Broker, for example. So the authentication, step-up authentication, and MFA.
Mhm.
That's really helpful in really blocking any kind of
Okay.
attacks, and how smart they are. I think it's very difficult to bypass an MFA trigger. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Especially
Oh,
Yeah.
Jeffy, you're a little bit freezing, or we cannot hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, the audio is gone. Jeffy.
Yeah. Jeffy
okay.
is Jeffy. We cannot hear you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yeah.
So basically what we were saying is MFA linked with our behavioral analytics gives you added advantage. For example, you normally work from Singapore, but one fine day your login was identified from Japan. Immediately, the behavioral analytics can raise alert and it can prompt you for a second factor to ensure that you are the right user who is connecting in. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, for sure, Venkat. So our product team, our product development team, I think it's now over 40 people, and only dedicated focusing on SAP technologies. And yeah, when we look at our roadmap and the plans that we have, it's for every software company nowadays, it's all about AI. So not only searching for smart answers and enabling easy Q&A kind of features, but also the next step is always is of course also about arbitrage, automating remediation steps, etc., etc. So that will be for sure the next steps for our product. Yeah.
Thank you, Anu. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
In fact, we also have SOAR kind of functionality
Yeah.
inbuilt with our tool.
Yeah. So auto response is also part of the threat detection module. So you don't you not only want to detect, but you also want to make sure that a suspicious event is being blocked real time. Yeah. Okay.
Good. That brings us pretty much to a close. We have only a few minutes left.
Yeah.
So last round, is there any further questions from anyone in the call? No? In that case, I very much appreciate your time. Thank you, Onno. Thank you, Jeffy, for the presentation. And as I mentioned, we will all receive a follow-up message on LinkedIn with a link to the video and the slides that we used today. So if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
See you next time. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Christoph.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.